So yeah, welcome for the talk, the dialogue today. Hello, did you say something? Oh, now my connection is a bit broken, but well, let's start. So welcome everybody for our dialogue about the topic Thinking Like a Forest. What can agroecology teach us about social dynamics? So we'll just really quickly explain you how we're going to go for the next 60 minutes. So I'm your facilitator today. So my role is more or less like holding a space and opening a space and giving a small introduction in the topic. And then I'm going to open the discussion at the circle. So we can then exchange ideas and informations about this question and just speak a bit about it, what we think about it, what are our own personal experiences, and exactly. So for speaking, we are going to introduce a speaking stick. So I have here like a shell that I found in Portugal, and every time I'm finished speaking, I'm going to make a movement towards the screen, and then if I want to speak, I'm going to take the shell again from the middle. So you can actually do exactly the same, that you can, if you want to speak, kind of take something from the middle. So there's like an imaginary round of us, and the object is in the middle. And our conversation has also 3 guiding dialogue principles. The first one is be brief and precise. Then speak from your heart and from your own personal experience and perspective. And the last one is listen as you would like to be heard. So I would then just jump in with a small video that we made with our project Pionira. It's a project that my friend Charlotte and we founded in 2018. And we did a research trip to Portugal, and we visited a very nice agriculture project there called Frejo do Meio. And I will just let the video speak for itself. So now I just hope that this is going to work here, the sharing. That's cool. Okay. Do you see my screen already? Yeah.
I don't, not yet.
You don't see the screen?
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah, you see the video as well? Yeah?
Okay. Not, yes.
Yeah, okay. I hope it works with the music and everything, because sometimes you have to optimize it for video, and let's see.
Rolling down the car windows, the smell of freshly cut grass filled our noses upon exiting the highway towards the small village of Foros de Valdefigueira and the adjacent Herdade Freixo do Meio. It is located at the confluence of the geographic regions Ribatejo and Alto Alentejo, an incredibly beautiful part of the countryside around Lisbon. Wind blew through our hair. We felt adventurous, open-minded, and free of expectations regarding our upcoming stop. Chickens scattered in their coop, and we watched them for a while before entering the farm's shop. We crossed the central square, blinded by the strong November light, dispersed by the clouds hanging low above the Portuguese countryside. It looked like rain. It smelled like rain, but it was somehow clear that it would let the dried-up earth long for it just a little longer. We were welcomed by Kerstin, who showed us around the terrain and explained the many aspects of their agricultural practice to us. Herdade Freixo do Meio has lived through various periods of cultivation and agricultural systems. From 2001 onwards, the whole farm was systematically transformed to become a wholly organic agricultural practice. This system prioritizes the re-establishment of the soil and the different extracts of the system, based on complex ecosystems and natural and local fertility cycles. Nowadays, the farm is run with a multifunctional concept, where forestry, agricultural and livestock activities, food processing and distribution, energy production, research, and educational tourism services are managed simultaneously. The historic agricultural buildings, also housing the farm's shops, are spread out in the landscape horizontally. Their shed-like structures and pitched roofs allow them to frame small squares and paths that guide the visitor through the active part of the farm. Today, they house fermentation stations, cooling rooms for the harvested vegetables and fruits, and a large living room with long tables and a fireplace for gatherings. Seeing these old structures used in a low-tech manner for contemporary agriculture was quite impressive, as it made us understand the many processes that happen at the same time to manage and sustain such a large producing property. After this initial rush of curiosity and excitement for the many things we didn't know before visiting, we walked around the grounds and took in the beautiful and calm atmosphere of the endless stretches of green countryside. The regional climatic conditions bring hot to very hot summers, lasting at least 3 months, and winters are, on the other hand, humid with cold temperatures. Rainfall varies widely throughout the year and can range from 300 to 800 millimeter annually, and is concentrated in spring and winter. The day of our visit in November, however, brought no rain with it until the end, but it left us filled to the brim with new and inspiring information and the sensation of having spent much more time in the countryside than we actually had. We left overwhelmed by the unique sensation that only the tranquility of a forest can spawn, having grown for centuries, trees carrying themselves with pride and grandeur against the backdrop of the cloudy but bright blue Alentejo sky.
Perfect. So
I
now
want to go there.
we will open the conversation by introducing a sound. So maybe we can just clap all together and we can start the dialogue about our topic. Okay. So what were
Thinking
you
like a forest. Thinking like a forest. Like I didn't even know that the forest was thinking before I read actually that book, Thinking Like a Forest, actually, that speaks about the forest intelligence, and I was quite amazed by just this metaphor. Not a metaphor, actually, like really like this intelligent systems and intelligence of other species. That was my first encounter actually with this thematic, which was not such a long time ago, and learning about like the society of the forest, mushrooms also, like mushroom societies, and was quite it was very mind-blowing to zoom in like that, and like in the earth and in like the vegetal realm. It was my first encounter. That's what I maybe want to share at first.
Yeah, I think it's actually also something that maybe we are not so aware of when we go to the forest for the first time. I mean, we see all this diversity of plants. Sometimes you have here, for example, in Europe, more forests that are having more like one kind of plants. How is it in Brazil? I mean, you have all the jungle and all these different species that are together. Do you sometimes think how they're actually interacting together, or if they're kind of forming a dialogue in Brazil? Monica?
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not a good English speaker, so I'm a little shy, and it's difficult to me to understand you. But this theme is not so new for me because I'm studying a digestion process or a digestion system, and I see this process as we usually see this process as a individual nutrition. For example, we eat to nurture ourselves, and I think if we see the system as or think as a forest, we can see a digestion process as something. For example, we also decompose the matter, so it goes to the soil. So we actually are something like fungi, for example, or mushroom, because we are also decomposing the matter. So for me, thinking like a forest is something in this way. But here in Brazil now, we are in a bad ecological moment because our minister and president are really he wants to destroy all the forests and our ecosystem. So he allowed the entry of a lot of poison, soil poison. I don't know how can we say this in English, but we can eat healthy food here in Brazil right now. So it's difficult to think like a forest in this scene.
But would you say that this like sensation is spreading all over the country, or is it like varying from region to region? Because, for example, one of the main reasons that we visited this farm in Portugal was because of Ernst Götsch. He's a Swiss farmer that went to Brazil, and he actually introduced there this method called syntropic agriculture. So I was wondering if this topic and if this method is kind of spread in Brazil, and if it's a knowledge that is available, or if it's not a topic that is being spoken so much about.
We have little agroforests, but it's something expensive to maintain. So our organic food is really expensive. It's more than the prices. Is more than the double of a normal food or a monoculture food. I don't know if this was your question. Sorry.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Brazil, like going also to supermarkets, and I was really surprised to see that even that there was very little choices of vegetable or fruits actually in such a rich country with the forest and tropical forest, and just so fertile, no? And I was asking my friends, and also a lot of then I discovered this book called Punk. The plant punk is like all the plants that the forest that you can find in the forest, or even like around the city actually, but that we don't really know how to cook, or I say we, but like the Brazilians like don't really know how to handle them or how to cook them. So there is a lot of knowledge and a lot of actually recipe that are lost in a way, and we focus on what is on the supermarket, even though like the offer is not so rich. And then we walk next to like maybe a source of nourishment, actually also in the city sometimes. I found that very, very interesting. That is because we don't know how to cook those plants or those fruit or vegetable, that then we're not engaging with it. So then it's about the tools in a way. It's about like then the knowledge around and the tools. So about syntropic agriculture, I mean, it's a super interesting topic. Super interesting topic, but sorry guys, merci beaucoup. Sorry, super interesting topic, but I felt it was still very privileged in a way also to be able to use also these techniques in a wild spread zone. Because we're still, even in Europe or like I guess in Brazil, we're still very stuck with like monoculture agriculture, with monoculture, because of the let's say the big companies also made us addicted to that, and in a way that is very difficult to go out of this monoculture agriculture way of dealing with the land and with the way we produce things. It's actually something that they also told us in Frege de Mayo,
they are approaching to change the whole concept to centropic agriculture, but they had to start very small, because normally in a monoculture you have huge machines that are like going vertical streets, so it's very easy to collect all the fruit. And in a centropic agriculture farm you have different plants in different levels, so now everything needs to be picked by hand again, and it's much more time intense and, like, of course also cost intense. And it's really like a mind shift. The people, they only need to understand that it's like beautiful to bring this effort, and that it's actually also very good for the diversity of the plants and gives like a really huge effect to the soil. And yeah.
In Frejo, in Portugal, what kind of people then are engaging with this project? How, just to understand a bit, like who started it, and because you say it's really time consuming, so what was the process of the project?
I don't know it 100% because we didn't get the chance to speak to the founder of it. I think it was a guy called Antonio, and he was very like busy by the time we were there. But we met Kerstin, who's actually a German woman who went there for a year to work, and then she was actually falling so much in love with the project that she decided to stay. And she was telling us that it's actually like a very old mortada, so it's these huge places, it's on top of a mountain, it's owned by a family for years and years, and I think it has been developing in this process of more generations. So maybe it started as a very like classical agricultural farm, and then by many people coming from different countries and cultures, and being kind of a very diverse, like a mix of people and philosophies. I think they're also trying to now integrate different methods, and they are testing different things. So they also see what works best for them. And yeah. But you know somebody who's actually working there as well, Margot, no? Or
I met a person, but it's just, I'm just wondering how accessible is it to actually people that don't have time, you know, in a way, sorry guys, I just so yeah, how accessible is it to people that actually maybe don't have time and just need to work every day long, you know, and needs to make a living, and how do we like build also like kind of a bridge to make that to not make just bio food or like a healthy food to just a certain range of people.
Yeah.
So it's something I've been in my mind just asking myself, how do we do that? And I guess maybe in Brazil you can also like tell us how do you feel about that?
I'm sorry. Do you mean about this the organization of these communities?
More about how do you see like people engaging with this topic of, let's say, healthy food or centropic agriculture, or like alternative way of producing, maybe community working around it. But I'm just interested in kind of the situation over there.
Okay, as you say, I think that here in Brazil the research of the banks are increasing, which are plants we don't usually eat, but we can eat, and you don't know how to cook. So people are more involving with this research. And we have communities here, agroforest, little agroforest, which I think, I don't know, but I think we have these communities or eco forests, eco villages, eco villages, where people live there and work in this land and sell the food in in the street or in centers, organic centers of food. But we have a great increasing of this subject in the artistic medium. So researchers who are artists and also people who work in eco villages. So I was thinking in a researcher called Jorge Mena Barreto. I don't know if you know
I
him.
know.
And he work in a performance or a restaurant that he recorded the sound of a monoculture land and a agroforest land, and the sound of the agroforest it's diverse with high and low levels, as you say, in the extracts. I don't know the heights of the forest, and the monoculture is a monosound, so we can see these different, and this became an art piece. So people can interact with this ecological subject through his art piece. And I know this thing of ecological and agroforest by artistic subject, not by a eco-village context.
But are these information also communicated in your education system? Because you said that you're studying nutrition, so is it like information and ways of receiving and seeing that are normally communicated in like seminars and like discussions, or is it something that you have to research yourself and that you came across more like fluently in your own path?
We don't have this education in the basic school. And we have to study by ourselves, and we have to read a lot of research from other countries, because we don't have a lot of this knowledge here in this moment. I think this is increasing, but it's difficult. We don't have a food education in school in Brazil, or in, I don't know, in the workplaces. Is really difficult here to think about the food we are eating.
I remember the work of Jorge, so I really like what he does, and I really like the fact that he tried to represent this monoculture, also sound, just graphically. So he did this drawing where there was actually only he wanted to represent monoculture systems. So he just put A on a white paper, just a letter, and then on another to represent like polyculture, he put different letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then he actually sang that sound. So he was saying, well, monoculture makes and this is the sound of just that. So I think it's super nice to think also of like what are the tools to make us represent like the world as it is, and also then the world of forest in a way. And I think we just need examples. We need to do it, because you're speaking. Okay, are we doing or showing that in your school? Is it part of your teaching or your trainings? I think it's coming more and more. I think this topic is coming more and more. People are more interested in doing it, and so we're going to have more and more examples of this metaphorical or representative ways of speaking about or taking models coming from nature to put them into systems like social system. It can be, if you take example on the permaculture, for example, is like, okay, well, permaculture is, or like thinking like a forest for me is very connected of this diversity of profiles, of skills, of know-how, of sensibilities that actually are just like helping each other to have a better, or maybe complexifying what, how the world works. And yeah, every time I'm a bit lost in my life, I try to go systems that we find in nature, about rhythm, about diversity, about synergies. I always try to ask myself, what would like the forest do, or what would the plant do? And because I really believe we're part of nature, we're not separated from it. The same with body mind. I think the body and the mind is just one. So I really like this metaphor of not this metaphor, this representation of the forest. What can we take from these systems and those models that we can then bring back to our society, to what could be to just like collectively create together in a way.
And to help each other. I also like so much this forest thing that they are actually, trees are supporting each other's growth. And there's some trees like growing slower, the other one is making like place so there's more sunlight coming, and there's all these like amazing root system that, for example, in a storm, the roots are actually stabilizing the other tree. Yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor to have as a mantra, actually, something that is like kind of repetitive in your life, that gives you strength and belief, and it's very beautiful.
Yes, I agree with you, Margot. I think we have to find ways to represent the forest, because our Western system of representation is so well linked with the monoculture. The way we see the food linked with our subject lives, our individuals' lives. We see people eating in the television and living a happy life, but the process of eating is not this. Is not being happy. It's more being part of a forest. So we have to find another visual ways to educate people in a basic education, I think.
Imaginaries, huh? Now it's like, how do we represent, and what do we desire, and what do we think is possible in a way? Because and yeah, I think it's a lot about representation. We're in a crisis of representation, I feel, and a crisis of visibility in a way, or invisibility. And I love artistic practices for that, because I feel artists or cultural producers are translator also of other layers of the society, or also of like other species. And I'm very amazed by what is now also happening in the art field in terms of projects, like, looking at the body of water, looking at like the forest intelligence, looking at symbols, semantic language. I think it's also the crisis we're living is a crisis of language. Which words are we using to speak about what is happening? Is climate change enough? Like, isn't it a bit shallow to speak about the destruction and the violence towards the earth? Is the word resource like something that feels good? Like, because resource feels very extractive in a way. That we can source to that and limited without questioning it. So I think, just to close about representation also, I think artists need to go beyond representation. Now they need to, not just artists, but it's just because it's a practice also, like in food culture days, that is very like that we try to link also with the different projects, and we work basically with this medium of like through the prism or through the eye of art, speaking about that. But I think artists need to, or we need to, we need to go beyond representation and really become social actors. We need to go on the field. We need to research. We need to speak with people. We need to go away from the screen and really be on the ground. And this, I really like when we connect that with thinking like a forest, is about rooting, is about being present, standing in the forest amongst other people. And as much as this virtuality is also very beautiful, because we're connecting now with you, Monica, and like Lena also, we need to go beyond representation and embody like those desirable futures. We need to have examples. I really think we need better examples and better narratives and representation.
There's a question in the comments, if you could maybe name the artist again, the name of the artist you were speaking about.
Is Jorge Mena Barreto or Jorge?
Jorge. He did this really nice project called Restaurao at the Sao Paulo Biennale. Is it, Monica? I'm not sure now if it was, which was very beautiful project. Also talking this, I was speaking about language. Well, that's exactly that also. It's like this word, restaurant, restaurante, restauration, is about putting energy in our bodies. Is about metabolizing the food that we put in our bodies and have something transformative in a way, and transform the energy in something more. And we tend to forget that restaurant or restauration or restauration is about restoring our energy, restoring ourselves, and that is done through food, basically. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jorge, so we could talk during hours, but I think it's really an artist to look up if we're interested in language, semantic, and how we sculpt the landscape with our bodies.
Yes, and there is something in this restaurant which is also a piece of art, but the food is served. I don't know. We eat the food in a plate where the food is organized in the same way that is in the forest. So the low vegetables in the bottom of the plate, and I don't know, on this level, the next level in the forest. So you don't organize your plate. You receive a plate organized by the forest. So you eat a little part of the forest, and all these relations.
Interrelations. Definitely. Which is beautiful to know that we're all like interrelated, and that there is no other. There is no other. That's also a concept. That's also a concept of the mind, to believe that there are others. I think what we see in another like is actually a projection or a reflection of something that we also have in us, and that we or accept or reject. Yeah. Please.
No, I was just thinking that actually if you engage with other people or also other diversities, then actually you get maybe an information that you cannot access by your own, maybe just in the coexistence of something, or like two people or two plants, something new is going to be created. And this is actually something that we also need to understand, and that we need to be open for, and that we actually need to work on, and I think in the future. How is it with the mushrooms? Sorry.
I love to close what you say. I love the word contamination in general, of people, of you always, when you meet someone, even if you don't know, like you're contaminated by this person, by the also by the pheromone that this person is just spreading out around him or her. So yeah, I mean, especially now with the corona, this feeling like this word, no, contamination, is actually very strong, but we tend to see it as something negative, but it actually also can be something very powerful. Let's contaminate each other.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you feel about this in the visual space? Is it also possible?
In the visual, in which terms?
Yeah, in the digital space, are we also contaminating each other, or is it only possible in the analog space? What is your experience from this year?
Monica, I would be happy to listen to you on that.
Okay, I think we lost in this contamination process in digital mediums, but I work with fungi, but not mushrooms. Actually, I'm an artist, so I work with the fungi when you forget a food in your kitchen. So this food get a fungi. I don't know how can we say this general fungi. In Portuguese we say mofo or
muff.
Yeah. Muff.
And moisissure in French.
And this is the contamination is a subject for me because I'm always in this relation is dangerous, but this is the way I can be in touch with this muff, and we have to deal with this in our lives. We are always in contact, in contamination, and I think we are used to clean ourselves. We have a fear of the contamination or the other beings which live with us in our homes. For example, fungi, muff, or spiders, these little insects. But these are part of our life. So I really like. Yes, I really like the concept of contamination, and our language is contamination. Also, I just learned some words today, so I think this is the same with the muff. You touch in a food, so you are part of that being. So I'm in touch with you, and these words I've learned today is like a little pieces of the muffs in my body now, in my mind now.
Yeah, that's actually what agroecology teaches us about social dynamics, that it's exactly this. Sometimes it can look bad, but it can be something really beautiful and with a huge potential that we just have to embrace and transform in a way.
Being scared of, I mean, moth. I mean, I think this is the most, I love seeing like rotten food. I think it's so beautiful. I don't understand why it's something that is actually like seen as something bad or ugly or disgusting. I think it's so beautiful. Like I remember like a friend of mine was taking pictures of it, and it was blue and orange, and it was like, wow, this is so incredible. And but we have a problem with decay. We have a problem with death, and moth reminds us death also, because like this, I mean, I don't know in which when you study that, if it's also like decay, if it's like this moth of things that are turning bad. So then it's about death. It's about, we don't like to see death, and then it's related to that. So but if you take back the agroecological like thinking, death is just a part of the process. Death is just the circle of life, and then it goes back to the earth, and then this earth gives nutrients to the plant that is going to grow. So there is nothing in the system, in a circular system in a way, or in the ecological system, there is no failure. There is no, nothing is they're just how can I say, like by chance. Everything interact and interreact. Yeah.
Yeah, everything has its part. True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are afraid of that. But when you are a dead body, you were eaten by moth also. So
Exactly.
this is the beginning of a new life, and I don't know, our fear of death, I think, is something a non-ecological way to live life. Because we see our lives as the most important thing, and actually we are a piece of food to the nature.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
nice. That's true. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in a way, it's what happens in compost, right?
And I mean, something that I also think is very powerful with this thematic of death and eating ourselves is like, I think we are cannibals. I think we are cannibals. Look at like the society right now. We're eating each other. We're killing each other. We're doing it. Actually, it's not a metaphor. We are doing it like by the way certain part of the society is living. We are cannibalizing each other. We're destroying. Yeah. So I think we're not so far from that. We're really eating each other. Yeah, cannibalism. That's a nice topic also. I feel cannibalism.
And what exactly are you doing in with the morph in your project? When you said it's an artistic project.
Yeah, I do leaf sculptures made by clay, rotten food, and muff. And I live with these beings, with these sculptures, and I observe this, and I see this project is called guts, which in Portuguese is something like panças. Another word in English could be bowels, which is this organ in the ruminant animals. That in Portuguese means also our bellies, our human bellies, an informal way to talk about this. So it's a symbiotic word in Portuguese.
We also say that in French, actually, la panse. Yeah.
Panse.
Panse.
Yeah. So these panse are leaf sculptures and are reverse organs, like stomachs in outside my body, because I think we have fungi inside of us. We digest by fungi. So I think we can look to our digestion as a decomposing process always also. So why we digest and fungi decompose? Why can't we talk about this process as one process, digest composition process, for example, a decomposition process, because we are also fragmentation the matter inside of us, and muff is doing this. So with this sculpture, I like to think about how to be a muff. Why do we call ourselves human if we have muff inside of us? Why can't we be a little fungi? Because we digest being fungi. We couldn't digest with hadn't fungi inside of us. So I don't know. This sculpture is like a double of myself, outside of myself, my stomach outside of myself, where I can see a parallel of my digestion being executed by fungi. But this is a very new project, so it is in development right now. I don't have a more complex, I don't know, piece. I have these photographies of this sculpture and my observations, my I don't know, my website. I can send it to you after, so you can see the fonts.
Yeah, with pleasure. I mean, this sounds already pretty complex. Like, I don't think we need to sometimes have big concepts or big words to actually, sometimes it speaks by itself, like the complexity speaks by itself. But yeah, I mean, for me, what you're talking about, this material, this materiality of the month also is like, there are so many materials or matter, more like matter. There are so many matter that we don't really consider, that we think they're not worth putting our gaze on it, or it's not worth to be interested in it, or they're too small, or they're invisible. And yeah, I mean, it's also the ashes, for example, like the title of the Biennale is like from the forest ashes. Like in certain culture, I think it was in Peru that I also read that that they're living really symbiotically with the forest, and they're to do agriculture, they are burning a little part of the forest, and then the ashes are actually giving nutrients to the to the plants that they want to cultivate. And it's little patch. It's not like unlimited and without thinking intelligently on the resources and the sustainability of the practice. They really know the forest and the regeneration, also like time and rhythm. So they're working with the forest in a way. And it's crazy because for us, I mean, for us, it could be the ashes is something dead, is something that is nothing, is the end of the process. But again, is like the ashes can actually be the start of another process. And same with the crumbs, which was the first title of the first chapter of the Food Culture des Biennale, was from only the crumbs shall be kept. And it's the same. It's like first, there has this feeling of a bit ruins, what is left, in a way, the leftovers, what is left. And then there is this precarity with like the crumbs, in a way. We just leave the crumbs for, the feast is for some, the crumbs are for the crumbs are for the birds. But for the birds, those crumbs are a feast. It's the best meal of their life, maybe. So, it's always just a matter of perspective and of scale, like which glasses we're putting into to look at what we're talking about. And that's why it's so exciting with food, I feel, because we're talking with so many layers, so many multi-species encounters, relationship, dynamics, and in food, you have everything. Like basically, you can represent so many different things with food. Like can be the notion of nature, can be the tradition, can be the body, can be gender, can be like production, cultivation, can be love, desire. I mean, it's so many. Can be commodity. I mean, is for me, it's can be architecture also. I mean, Lena, you know that maybe better than architecture, like how we build our houses, like the kitchen. What's the place of the kitchen in the house? Why do we put it there? Why did it change through the history? And that gives us so much content to analyze certain times or the time we're living in. Also, when the first frozen food appeared, like in history, it was like you start seeing artists also taking pictures of like food in another way, and that was really telling you something about the position of the eye and the position of food in like the everyday life, in domestic spaces, depending on what was the like the, how do you say, like the how the photographer was actually taking those pictures. So yeah, it's just, I love this topic, like really.
It was a perfect end word for our little dialogue. Putting it all together from all perspectives. I was just thinking that it's like what you just said was kind of enlightening it from a very nice perspective, yes.
There is something that my professor, Ricardo Basbaum, I don't know if you know him, always say that we can see our breath when you breathe. Our breath.
Breathe. Yeah.
You can breathe the air of your home, or you can breathe the air of your city, or you can breathe the air of your atmosphere. You can breathe the air of your planet. You can look to your breath in so many scales, and the food is the same thing. And all the life process, you can see your digestion with a molecular process inside of your stomach, inside of your guts. You can see the digestion in an individual nutrition process, or in an ecosystem process, because you eat, and so you I don't know, this food is in a circle. So this thing of the glasses is that depend in which point of the cycle you are.
Yeah.
I think it's actually beautiful because it's a print of time. Like you eat something and then it gets digested and then it's in the breath, and it's like keeping all these informations of time. And this is actually very related to architecture when we speak about materials and like buildings, that also all these like small materials, small matters are still existing, but also speak a lot about the time. And maybe they're getting digested because they're getting reused, and then they're getting like brought together again. I was thinking about it because of the crumbs and like the kind of there are also ashes, like materials in general, like matter that is there that then can get in a different life, or that can be seen differently, that then can get back together in a different way, and something new is going to be created from it.
Repurpose.
Yeah, exactly. Repurpose. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing also your cargo collective, Monica. So for the one that are interested, is a Costerponte, Costerponte. Sorry,
yes, thank you.
Cool. Amazing. So Lena, you said it was finished, no? Or like, because I would talk like more.
Yeah, I had my alarm on. To get a view about the time, and it's actually rang already 2 times. So I think, unfortunately, our time is up. But
thank you, girls.
It was very, very nice to speak to you and to exchange with you, and also to get to know your work, Monica. I'm very curious to look it up.
Thank you so much for connecting from Brazil. It's very nice to have this side of the world with us, like in Food Culture Days. During those 4 days. It's very important, and especially because of the actual situation also, politically and ecologically, I think it's very, very important that you're here today. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to me to be here. I love to know you. And so, Okay.
Okay, then we can close the space together. I was just...
Okay. Thank you.
Yay!
What were you saying, Margot? I interrupted you.
It's amazing. No, I said I want the sound because it's amazing. I love it that we're like synchronizing. Thank you, girls. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.